We are here. The 2-minute warning of the New York Jets' final preseason contest. It is the Snoopy Bowl against the New York Giants. Certain players have stood out. Izzy Abanikanda with a touchdown. Tack McKinley with 3 sacks. What does this mean for them? A live broadcast from the right into some post-game analysis. Let's roll.
J-E-T-S, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Samini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer, and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Welcome in, everyone. We are here, the 2-minute warning of the Snoopy Bowl. Like I said, before I had a little mishap there and played the countdown again, we'll be doing a live broadcast from the 2-minute warning right into post-game analysis. We are actually simulcasting on my guest channel as well. We are joined by Dan from the Jets Afterburners podcast. Dan, how you doing?
I am amped. What is it? It's 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I lost track of time. You texted me. You're like, yo, let's do something. And I'm bing. Let's do this. I'm at it. We have a boatload of stuff to discuss. 2-minute warning right here. And of course, like I told you, it's the antenna thing that I have. I see it before everybody else. I'm in the future, guys. So if you want, place your bets. I'll tell you what to bet on, and you'll win a lot of money. So 2-minute warning. Let's see what we got here. We're up by 4 points. It's a minute and 55 seconds remaining.
Andrew Peasley under center. A handoff looks like a gain of about 2 yards.
Yep.
Appears to be Xavier Valladay who
it's gonna get cut.
Xavier Valladay who got the handoff there. Dan, I don't know, but if you copy and paste the StreamYard link, throw it in your chat as well. It is in mine for those who want to call into the show. We would love to hear what you guys have to say. About a minute and 55 seconds left. It is 2nd down and 8 for the Jets.
So apparently I do not have that feature. We're simulcasting, and Con, you're the king right here, man. So you got to do everything because I don't know what I'm doing here. So I don't have that option.
Sounds good. I will throw it in your chat right after this play. I will go into your YouTube chat. Andrew Peasley under center. Xavier Valladay in the backfield. Another handoff. Gain about
nothing.
1 to 2 yards. Nothing. That is the bottom line.
That's exactly what's in my bank account after all the work that they've done outside for these past 3 weeks. Nothing left. That's it.
Now, Dan, staying with the topic of the running back room, Xavier Valladay, he's played fine today. We saw Xavier Gibson with some flashes. Are you for the Jets carrying 4 running backs this season?
Well, apparently, because of my post that I threw out there on Twitter, got a lot of hate, which is fine. It's always good to be a little controversial here and there. My whole thing is I like Izzy, and I'm going to get into that in just a second. 3rd and 6 right here.
3rd and 6. Peasley again under center. Looks like Valladay also in the backfield. As we've seen this whole possession. Toss to Valladay. Cuts to the outside, and no, you can't get a first down. About 4th and 3 for the Jets. They'll most likely go ahead and kick a field goal here. And no, the Giants will use a timeout to prevent the Jets from running the clock all the way down there. So it looks like the Jets will kick a field goal, which will most likely make the game 13-6. The Giants will hopefully, if Greg the Leg could put this in, the Giants will be looking at around, trailing a touchdown with a little less than 2 minutes remaining. But Dan, back to what you were saying about Izzy in terms of the Jets carrying 4 running backs.
So my whole thing is this: I think Izzy has been progressing. I get it; he's been on the 3rd string this entire training camp and whatnot. But with that being said, it's his 2nd year in here. Yes, the lack of pass protection is a big no-no. Let's see if Zuerlein can redeem himself and kick a nice. No, not good. Not looking good.
Yep, 47-yard attempt for Zuerlein, and he off to the left. And that was not the way Zuerlein, personally. If I'm Greg the Leg, that is not how I want to end my summer. I mean, he missed the extra point early. We didn't see Seibert. We did not see Seibert in today's game.
He should have kicked like that last year against the Commanders, and it would have gave us a better draft position. But you know what? It is what it is. Hopefully he can learn from it. So my big thing was, all right, you know what? Izzy is progressing. maybe, just maybe, I know maybe you might disagree with me, and I would love to hear your views on it. 1st and 10, Giants. Just maybe, I know maybe you might disagree with me, and I would love to hear your views on it.
See, DeVito drops back, finds 81, and he gets a first down.
Oof.
First down for the Jets. Not an ideal way to start the drive for the Jets there. 81, and he gets a first down.
Oh, there's an echo going on. You hear that echo? You hear it?
I think it was because I was throwing the call-in link in your chat. I think that is what triggered the echo.
Oh.
DeVito, holding on Holmes there, but DeVito spikes it in the ground, and the flag comes in.
What's up, Holmes?
DeVito signals it's against the Jets. Let's see.
All right, Jets are in midseason form. Nah, I love my Jets.
Defense. Let's see who's that on. Codrington. I'm a big Codrington guy. He has not, he had that fine punt return to start the game.
Yes.
About 10 yards, I think it was 15 yards. He had an offsides penalty. He had a holding penalty as well, and the holding there, and then he had the offsides earlier in the game. Not what you want to see out of a player like Codrington, who's currently, battling
on the bubble.
on the bubble, battling for a roster spot. I'm personally a fan of his, though, and I hope he's able to break through and earn a spot on the roster. But 1st and 10 again for Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. Shotgun snap. DeVito drops back, looking, and he scrambles. Can he get the first down? No, it looks like he slides just in front of the first down mark.
Wow.
Let's see where they mark it.
Yep, 2nd and 1. 2nd and 1. They're doing the hurry-up offense right now.
Yeah, here we go. Yep. Time's expiring. It's about to, around a minute left in the game.
Yep.
Time's expiring. Trying to, 10. Let's see. You're a bit ahead of me there, Dan.
Yes, I am. I'm in that future. I'm in that DeLorean, baby.
Who we got? Nice sack there. Tanzel Smart and Bruce Hector, it looks like, combining for the sack, 2 of which are competing for that final defensive tackle spot along with Leonard Taylor. However, Taylor seems to be the favorite for that job based on what he has shown throughout this game, especially. I think.
Yes.
He's combined for a ton of sacks. He's really wrecked the game. He's gotten into the backfield, but Marcelino McCray Bell, way to stop it, make it 4th and 2 for the Giants. 27 seconds left in the game. The Giants have 4th and 2. The Jets lead 10-6. Way to get right there and break that pass up. Again, he's someone on the bubble. If I had to make my bet today, though, in terms of what his status is going to look like, he probably would be a practice squad guy, but still nice to see a player like him making plays.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. There it is. Oh, nice. Done. It's over.
Let's
nice.
See. Yep, there you go. Way to stop them.
Wow.
Short of the mark. And the Jets will go into victory formation. You see Sauce Gardner walking on the field like he did during the Jets joint practice with the Giants, waving goodbye to Giants fans. And just like that, the New York Jets will go into victory formation, which makes them, wraps up their preseason, makes them 3-0 in the preseason, 4-0 of which in 2024. Dan, haven't lost a game in 2024 yet. We head over to the Bay Area to take on the San Francisco 49ers in a little more than 2 weeks. How are you feeling?
Dude, I'm telling you right now, like when you see a stop like that, and I get it, a lot of these guys, they're not going to be on the team, but you sense with Salah's defense, Ulbrich leading the way, even these 3rd, 4th tier guys on defense, it's an easy system to buy in. It's very defensive, rush the passer friendly scheme. So it's one of those where, you know what? Yes, we're 3-0 in the preseason. Does it mean much in the grand scheme of things? No, but when you see how hard they're playing, the guys up front, you could tell how focused they're all set for the 2024 campaign.
Yep.
Bring on the San Francisco 49ers. I think Salah can't wait to kind of give some pay. Like, I don't know if it's, is it like it's them? It's like, I don't know. It's like his former employee. I think it's more for Aaron Rodgers that holds that grudge, because I think he still remembers when the Niners had the 1st overall draft pick and they bypassed Aaron Rodgers, a kid that loved the 49ers, in favor of Alex Smith.
Yep.
I think that starts the revenge tour for Aaron Rodgers not only against the Niners, but against everyone who has completely poo-pooed on him for the longest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, running it back on Monday Night Football, as we
Mm.
speak, Andrew Peasley takes the final knees down, which will officially give the Jets a victory. And, I couldn't agree with you more. And also, it's important to note that not only he holds that grudge against the 49ers for them having the first overall pick in that draft, but he's also from California. So that also adds a little more hometown pride in it. But if you're just joining in, the Jets have defeated the New York Giants in their annual Snoopy Bowl matchup. Jets win 10-6. But Dan, the game's officially wrapped up. I know we just spoke about the 49ers, but you're ready to get right into some post-game analysis.
I'm so in right now because we kind of briefly touched on the running back situation, right? And like my whole thing is with Izzy is that last year he wasn't that great at pass protection. We get that. We understand. It's a young player. So you have the entire offseason. Now, with that being said, it's a business, right? So the GM, they have to look at players that can protect Aaron Rodgers when he takes a snap back, especially the running back position. Hence, they drafted Braylon Allen and also Isaiah Davis. So right then and there, Izzy has to kind of claw his way to the active roster. Now, the run that he had tonight, right? That to me was productive. There was also certain plays that he was protecting the passer. I wouldn't give up on him that easily. Now, there is a post I put out there. I'm getting a lot of flack for it. Maybe rightfully so. Maybe I spoke too soon, but hear me out here. And I know we might butt heads on this one. Check it out. I threw in there, let's keep Izzy, release, then re-sign Isaiah Davis to the practice squad. No one is signing Davis, but Izzy would be signed. What do you think about that one? Or we keep all four. But let's say if we had to drop one and then snatch that one up and put him on the side, would you be okay with it?
Well, I'm going to start, before I get into that, I'm going to start based on your comments, the pass protection. It was hilarious that Hackett came out at week 14, I believe it was last year, and made those comments. I'm like, how do you not feel comfortable with him in pass protection? Yet you had all of training camp, all of preseason, and 14 weeks of practice, and you still don't feel comfortable. In terms of the Davis comment, I really disagree because Davis, I honestly think, can make a case to move up ahead of Allen. Davis has looked incredible throughout the preseason, whether it's, I personally want Codrington to earn that kick return job, but Davis has looked great returning kicks, punts, and then he's also looked great fitting in with the offense. I think the Jets need to carry 4 running backs. That was not my stance going into today's game, but after what I saw from Izzy, I mean, people have to take into consideration the kid's 23 years old. He has lightning speed. I mean, you saw him breaking all those tackles. If the Jets throw him on the practice squad, someone is going to pick him up right away. Personally, I think it's a scenario where maybe you put someone like a Jason Brownlee or an Irv Charles on the practice squad. You carry 4 running backs. Right. And then I think it is a scenario though where he will be inactive on game day. And even if he is active, it's a minimal to zero really role in the offense. I think it's just, okay, we view him as a developmental piece. We just don't want to we don't want to expose him to waivers, is I think the way you need to look at it. But it's definitely a really interesting way to look at it. Then obviously you have Xavier Valladay, who I think has a fine shot at making the practice squad. 14 attempts for 28 yards. He also got heavily involved in the receiving game with 6 receptions for 62 yards. I'm going to stay with the topic of receivers. Someone who made a catch late in the game. We've seen it, these small amount of receptions, but for, a solid amount of yardage. That's UFL standout receiver Brendan Smith. He had a great catch at the end of the game, barely got his feet in, contested ball. 1 catch for 39 yards on the day for Smith. When you look at Smith, do you think he's a piece maybe the Jets could stash on their practice squad and try to develop him?
You have to start looking at these players where they're on the bubble, but they know the system in the event, God forbid, there's an injury, right?
Yes.
Because in my opinion, like when we had Connor Hughes this past Thursday night, he alluded to the fact that, again, the big guy, the big name, Devontae Adams, may be a New York Jets by the time the trade deadline comes about, right? We don't know how the Raiders are going to be. But we can't put all of our eggs in that basket. We have to start thinking right now. What can we do? Let's develop Smith. Let's develop Brownlee. Or there might be other players that are playing great for other type of teams that are going to get cut. And maybe those are the players that we're going to be developing. So to me, it's wide receiver is a strength for us, but God forbid one bad injury, it could be one of our Achilles tendon right there, because we have Mike Williams coming off of injury. Garrett Wilson, dude, that guy he's lethal, but he plays so aggressive that I don't know if you get this too sometimes. Like when he gets hit hard, like he gets hammered.
He just gets right up.
He gets right up, but there's some times where he just stays down there. He has to walk off, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he's done. And then he just trots right back onto the field. He's an Iron Man, dude. I mean,
yeah.
Watching the Jets all these years with different wide receivers like Wesley Walker, Al Toon, Keyshawn, Wayne Krebet, Santana Moss, Lavernius Coles, Braylon Edwards. This guy, Jericho Cotchery. Again, we go back. What's the big one? The guy that has all of our records right
Brandon
now. Brandon Marshall.
That 2015 season. Single season record for receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
Everything. You couple all of those guys that I just mentioned, you get Garrett Wilson, and not for nothing, if it's a big one, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, they will annihilate each respective position stats. I mean, the Fitzpatrick one that he had in 2015, he'll blow right past him. And Garrett Wilson, I think he's going to have 1,800 yards this year. 1,800 yards.
Yeah, I'm going to start off before I get into my take on, Wilson, and then obviously I had a Cotchery comparison. I wanted to get on, my thoughts on Smith, and you mentioned the wide receiver room possibly being an Achilles heel. I think it's one of the weakest position rooms on the depth chart. Obviously you have Garrett Wilson, who was the first player in Jets history to cross 1,000 yards his first 2 seasons. And he also played with 6 quarterbacks while he did that. 6 different quarterbacks while he did that. Mike Williams, obviously very talented receiver, coming off of a massive ACL injury. Xavier Gibson, I'm confident in him. What has he shown, though? Alan Lazard, you got to hope for the best with Rodgers, but I can't rely on him coming off that shaky season. I don't know. I don't care what he's shown in camp. Malachi Corley, he's been invisible throughout it. He's made some nice plays throughout. He's been invisible throughout the preseason, though.
Absolutely.
And then after that, you have the Brownlee Charles combination. You mentioned developing as many receivers as you possibly can. I think Irv Charles is someone to watch. As the Jets seem to really like him at that gunner position. But I mean, he wouldn't be involved in the offense. I think he's someone the Jets might want to try to get involved in the offense. He could possibly be, a big body receiver. He stands at 6'4". You teach him to go up, get those contested balls. I could see someone who, the Jets might possibly involve Charles in the offense as the year goes on if they do end up using a roster spot on them. I mentioned Jericho Cotchery there. My comparison to Jericho Cotchery is actually none other than Xavier Gibson. You look at Cotchery, he was the Jets' leading receiver in yards for, I think, 4 years and consecutively. He was a 4th-round pick. He never received any national attention. He just put his head down, did his thing, and was one of the most productive receivers in Jets history. Obviously, Gibson went undrafted, but I could see Gibson doing something similar to what Cotchery did. And, if Gibson could turn out to be what Jericho Cotchery did, boy, that would have been one hell of a signing by Joe Douglas. And the New York Jets. I'm going to stay with the topic of the wide receiver room. Jason Brownlee got off to a rocky start throughout the start of training camp. Really, he's picked it up throughout the final 2 preseason games and the end of training camp. His status still remains uncertain as to if he will make the roster or not. What are your thoughts on Brownlee? Is it worth rostering using a roster spot on him? And do you think the Jets will carry 6 or 7 receivers this year?
I think, honestly, he's one of those players where he has progressed, but he also regressed as well. So it's such a tough predicament to be in when you're Joe Douglas looking at Brownlee, right? If you keep him, that's probably an Aaron Rodgers move. Because, again, if Aaron Rodgers likes someone, no one's cutting them. But if it's up to Joe Douglas, I honestly think he's going to get cut. And I don't think he's going to make it to the practice squad. I think another team is going to just scoop him right up because he is very talented. He leaps over people. He has that catch radius around him. He's lanky. He reminds me a lot of Lazard, but better footwork, better speed. I mean, catching wise, same level. Like I feel
Yeah.
Lazard peaked. I don't think Brownlee peaked yet. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah, it really depends. I think the Jets could either go with Brown. I think they could go in a lot of different directions. They could go with Brownlee, I thought the Jets were going to carry 7 up until Malik Taylor got injured. I thought Malik Taylor was going to be very, very, very solid for the Jets, and he was going to make the roster. However, it is something, a situation Jet fans are definitely going to want to keep their eye on there. It's still, like I said, uncertain as to if the Jets will carry 6 or 7, and then who else it will be. But staying with the topic of, just breaking down today's game as a whole, we're going to go to the quarterback room. Adrian Martinez got the starting nod for the Jets. He ended up going 12 of 20 for 99 yards. Didn't turn the ball over, didn't have a touchdown. Obviously, you view him and Peasley in a quarterback battle. What were your overall thoughts on Martinez's performance today?
Overall, today and the rest of the preseason, Martinez triumphed over Peasley completely. I look at Martinez, and the one comparison that I have with him is Ray Lucas. Gritty guys. He can run, put his head down. He doesn't think quick. He thinks quick, like on the fly. All right, it's not there. Boom. It's 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. I'm running it. And just for the fact that, he was the best outstanding player or whatnot at his respective, was it the UFL or one of those things? It kind of speaks volumes, right? Like the guy has that ball skills. Now, is he a developmental player, someone that I could see in the future being the Jets quarterback? Not necessarily, but this season, again, you never know what can happen, right? If history is going to teach us anything, and I'm not talking about Rodgers going down for the entire season. Again, Tyrod Taylor, I love the guy, but he also is another one who can't stay healthy. So I think that third quarterback spot, you better start looking at it and saying, should we keep 3 quarterbacks or put Martinez in the practice squad? Put him in there and cover him up. If the team thinks, all right, you know what? If push comes to shove, and I understand that the narrative is going to be like, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, the season's over. Yes, if he's out for the season, I totally get it. But if he's out for 3 weeks, right, those 3 weeks with the roster that we have, defense, the offensive weapons, the offensive line that we have, and again, God forbid, Tyron Taylor can't, find a wide receiver wide open. He runs and he gets blasted. Who's up? Who's the next guy up? It can't be Jordan Travis, who I have high hopes on. He's not ready. I'd rather keep Martinez.
Yeah, so we're on Peasley's stat line. Obviously, he definitely struggled today. 5 of 11, 75 yards. Didn't turn the ball over. Didn't have a touchdown. In terms of what the Jets will do, I'll get into my Tyrod thing as we go on. I think it's going to be first off, I think Travis is in for a full redshirt season. That leg injury was gruesome last year, and I think he's in for a full redshirt season. What I think it's going to look like is I think the Jets will carry 2 quarterbacks on the roster, 2 of which Aaron Rodgers and obviously Tyrod Taylor. And then I think Martinez will be the guy in the practice squad. In terms of Taylor, I evaluate Taylor to the point where it's like, okay, if Aaron Rodgers has to miss 4 games for a minor injury, I feel confident that Taylor could lead the Jets to a 2-2 record over that span. And even God forbid, it happens where we lose Aaron Rodgers for the whole season. I hope to God this doesn't happen. I honestly feel comfortable that Tyrod Taylor, with this roster, has the potential to lead the Jets to the playoffs. That's how confident I feel in Tyrod Taylor. If the Jets had Tyrod Taylor last year, we're having a whole different conversation. Right. Old fashioned, it was not on this Jets roster. The Jets would have already broken that playoff drought. So it's because I could count up the games. Week 3 against the Patriots, he would have won. The Raiders game, the Falcon game, a handful of games. Tyrod Taylor would have won if he was under center for the Jets rather Zach Wilson. But that is definitely one of the more, back to Peasley Martinez, it's definitely one of the more lower level positional battles that fans should definitely keep their eye on. Moving over to the tight end room, saw Zach Kuntz, it was a little questionable, but I thought that ball went through right through his hands. Ball went right through his hands. Some could argue it was a little overthrown, but I mean, it was right here. The ball came right in here. Definitely a tough drop for someone who struggled. He had that he couldn't get his feet in against the Panthers. That was not great. Yeboah had an injury. We did not see him return to the game. What do you just think this means for Kuntz, and what are your overall thoughts on his performance today?
I mean, with Yeboah, with that injury and whatnot, again, I didn't. How can I put this? I don't know if it was the field. Again, I don't like the field at all. At what point do the Maras and Woody Johnson say, we're ripping this out? I mean, what? They rip it out for the Copa America, for soccer to come over. Then they put this nonsense back on there, knowing all the travesties that it causes. But now Yeboah's out. Now it might even force the Jets to keep Kuntz, who, not for nothing, he reminds me a lot of this old Jet tight end about 3 or 4 years ago named Zach Sudfeld. Same thing, baby Gronk, right? 6'7", 280, could catch everything except the football. So today, that one would have made him part of the 53-man roster. He would have caught that one. It would have been, all right, you know what? Spectacular. The potential's there. He's done. It's a done deal. Zach Kuntz is not going to be a New York Jet because of that play right there. He had to use his athletic ability. Again, that was one of the knocks on him coming out of college, that he wasn't putting that extra effort. And you had a full year, a full off season as well. And then the culmination of all of that to keep your job, you had to make that catch. It wasn't a way. It wasn't an impossible catch. It was there for him to make the team. And it went right through his hands. And seeing it live, I'm looking at this and I'm like, he's definitely making this catch. Definitely. Again, I think it was Martinez that threw the ball.
Yeah, it was.
Under duress. And I'm like, all right, you know what? This is what we've been waiting for. Because we all want, a Travis Kelce. We all want a Gronkowski. We all want that kind of Gonzalez tight end. We want that. Do we have that? We have something in Conklin, who I like a lot, but it's not to that level. And seeing Kuntz not make that genuine above average effort, I'm like, all right, I guess that's it. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not what you want to see. Obviously, he had that incredible RAS score coming out of college. I view him though still as a developmental project. He is going to need time to sit and develop. But before we get into the rest of the post game analysis, Dan, we have a caller on the line. You ready to go to him?
Let's do it.
We have Charles joining the show. Charles, how you doing?
My man.
Hey, Connor, nice to finally meet you, young man.
Yeah, nice to see you. I greatly appreciate all the support.
How old are you? If you don't mind me asking, how old are you,
Of
young
course,
man?
I'm 13.
You're kidding me. You look at least 14 or 15 or maybe 16 years old. God bless you, young man. God bless you.
I actually just turned I turned 13 on July 15th, so a little over a month
God bless
ago.
you, young man. I'll be turning 30 on September 10th.
Nice. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. I was at my friend's house watching the first half, my friend Colin's house. It was the first half was good. I mean, I know some people are, you mind if I rant a little bit? Why are people panicking over Greg Zuerlein missing a couple of field goals? Stuff happens. Look, I know not everyone here is a baseball fan, but I am. Growing up, I was a big Yankee fan. And the greatest closer I ever saw was Mariano Rivera. There are times where he stunk up the joint. Did I panic? Did I lose sleep over it? No, because I knew this man's resume. I knew the heart he had. I knew the character he had. The man was incredible. I mean, some people say, I don't know, man. I think the man was like an android or something, or a Terminator or something. Guy was like unstoppable most of the time. But I'm not comparing Greg DeLay to Mariano Rivera. But what I'm saying is, guy's been one of the better kickers in the NFL his entire career, ever since he was with the Rams, for God's sake. Especially when they were in St. Louis. And you know what? There were times where he missed field goals too. And you know what? Stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's here's the thing. I didn't expect to see him the whole game. I thought Cyber was going to come in, as we've seen.
I thought so too, but here's the thing: even if Cyber, now God forbid, if Cyber meant to be like, can him, cut him.
The thing, if the Jets, I think if the Jets were actually smart, they would have put Seibert in just because what he's shown these past two games and the possibility if he hits that 47-yarder at the end of the game, if he drills that extra point, the possibility to even up his value as
Mhm.
potential trade bait to deal him for a pick.
Right.
Personally, if I'm the Jets, I'm kicking Seibert that full goal because you could really only up his stock. He had that 50-something yard field goal
I
against
think it
the
was like
Panthers.
52.
Yeah,
Oof.
52. You're looking to trade a guy like him. And Salvador came out and said, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, hey, he's not going to make the roster. We're just trying to give him some tape because we think he deserves to be on an NFL roster. But yeah, I don't think fans should really panic. It's just not the way fans want Greg the Leg to end his summer. But Charles, keeping it going with the game, what were your overall thoughts of the performance? Obviously, we saw Takk
Outside of the
McKinley.
score in the first half, sorry to interrupt, young
Oh,
man.
good.
I thought the offense looked smooth. It looked comfortable. Adrian Martinez impresses the hell out of me. He went, 12 for 20, 100 yards, no touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers in general. Offensive line looked good. The receivers were catching on to the friggin' ball, which is always great to see. You know what I'm saying? I'm sick and tired whenever they hit in the hands. And I've seen it when I watch other teams play. Quarterback would hit in the hands and it would just bounce off their hands. I'm like, well, either you stick them or you try catching the ball.
Yep.
Or I know sticking was illegal, but you get what I'm saying. But I thought Izzy Abanikanda to me reminded me why I fell in love with him last year. I thought the guy has the potential. I mean, that spin move was so nasty, and he ran 45 yards for a touchdown, which was incredible. I thought the offensive line that we started with in this game looked very, very good. The second half, the offense was just, I don't know what the hell happened with Peasley. Against Washington, he was fine. These last couple of games, he has been awful.
Yeah, the thing when I look at Dan, I'll definitely let you go after me and get your thoughts on just what Charles is saying. But Peasley, I made a comparison. He reminds me of a stiffer version of Trevor Siemian. That's what I see in Andrew Peasley. He reminds me of like a Mac Jones, Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, it actually reminds me pretty much like Mac Jones, Trevor Siemian type quarterback. I think Martinez though is the favorite overall just because he can move versus Peasley. Like I said, he's stiff. He tries to move out of the pocket. He throws the ball and it goes 3 yards. So it's like Martinez, I think, is the more valuable option there. But Dan, what were your thoughts on Charles' comments about Seibert and then also the Peasley versus Martinez battle? I know we got into it earlier.
Before I get into it, Charles, are you going to ask me how old I am? Come on, man. I mean, it's only fair.
I'm guessing you're in your 40s.
Almost.
You're in your late 30s?
Probably. Law of averages. 43, my man.
Oh, you're 43. God bless you, man. God bless you, man.
Thanks, man. But like I said before, you probably known. My whole thing is with Martinez. He reminds me a lot of Ray Lucas. He's a winner. He finds a way how to get the job done, right? But are we going to keep 3 quarterbacks today and age? It's 2, which I don't understand that. I don't know. I'm such a cracked Jet fan where I remember the time where Chad Pennington gets injured against the Jaguars. Jay Fiedler comes in to play, and that's just one play. He gets injured. 2 quarterbacks out for the season, and enter Brooks Bollinger. Why are teams doing this? This is what I don't understand. There's got to be some sort of logic behind it where why aren't you bringing a 3rd quarterback in here? Like in a game, God forbid something like this does happen. Bring in a Martinez. Bring him in, or what if this guy gets cut? DeVito. I'm all for it. I love Mike DeVito. I think
Tommy DeVito?
Tommy, Mike, Danny DeVito.
Tommy Cutlets.
They're all over there at the table for freaking Thanksgiving. I would go for him too, man.
I like him. He impressed me when he played the Packers on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, right. I will say though, Dan, they actually did add a rule this season. I don't know if you saw the emergency quarterback rule. So you are allowed to dress. Basically, you could dress 2 quarterbacks on game day, and then there's that third who's technically quote not active. But if both go down, he could come in the game. So basically, we're fighting over Peasley or Martinez for an emergency quarterback. If they were to make the practice squad, the Jets would probably have to eventually sign them before they could, elevate them and then put them back down. As NFL teams could only elevate the player three games before signing him to the 53-man roster. But that's definitely, like I said, a lower leverage battle fans should keep their eyes on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely. I forgot about that rule, that whole entire emergency quarterback thing. You're right. So I guess All right, shame on me for not knowing.
And also, the defense really played well today. I mean, 7 or 8 sacks they racked up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Leonard Taylor looked like Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he got about 2 or 3 sacks. Tack McKinley. Wasn't he a 2017 first-round draft pick?
2016 first round draft pick. Yeah, he was
Right.
came out of UCLA. I mean, high expectations for him. Played with Olbrich and Atlanta. Never really has lived up to those expectations. But hey, so I'm hoping maybe we could just get something like similar to what Solomon Thomas did. Obviously he was selected 3rd overall by the San Francisco 49ers. Never lived up to those expectations. But these past few years, he's ramped up his play to the point where it's like, hey, if you told me Solomon Thomas was a 4th or 5th round pick, I'd be like, wow, that was an incredible pick by you. It's just obviously he has that that link to his name, that first round pick. But I think McKinley could be something really nice for the Jets. You
He's
mentioned
got some
Leonard.
skills, man. He got a nice
Yeah.
athleticism. He's got some speed. He's got a little bit of power.
Yeah,
And he's got some athleticism there.
We
Jets,
really-
yeah.
we got to
Taylor-
get Reddick in here, man. We got to get Reddick in here.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm a
Is-
little annoyed about that. Don't get me started on that, my friend.
This is beyond, like, not for nothing. Like, I get it. We just came off the heels of preseason. We're looking at McKinley. This is where the Jet fandom comes to full force. We start looking at
Yes.
McKinley. We start looking at, again, Leonard Taylor. We're looking at Braden McGregor. 2 of the 3 who I really like. But the guy that has that dynamic playmaker ability, pass rusher, that's what we need. We haven't had a pure pass rusher, like straight up, since John Abraham.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what Reddick is going to be, though. I mean, Reddick has had over double-digit sacks the past 4 seasons, 16 in 2022, finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting that year, over 50 and a half sacks these past 4 years. I mean, he is what the Jets need, but it's at the point where it's like, okay, I put an article out about it today for Jets X Factor. It was a news story. Samini kind of said the September to 2nd to 3rd dates are, really key dates to watch, as these are where the holdouts kind of always come to a halt, as, the pride, the luxury. Obviously, he's paid over $1 million throughout this whole holdout, but this is where the price really starts to ramp up. In my opinion, though, it's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, he hasn't met his teammates yet. He didn't go to mini camp, training camp, preseasons. Like, even if he were to report today, would he, not today, tomorrow, if he were to report to tomorrow, show up to Forum Park and say, all right, I'm given, I'm done, I'm reporting and I'll play. Honestly, he probably even wouldn't play much during week 1 because he hasn't gotten to know the system. He hasn't been around his teammates. He hasn't met his teammates. Hasn't gotten to, like I said, know the system, meet the coaching staff, and it's like it must be so awkward once he finally shows up, when he greets his teammates. If he shows up, if he greets his teammates. But the one thing is the Jets can't do is grant him that trade request. That's the one thing they can't do because he has no trade value right now. That is the one thing the Jets can't do. But the Jets have all the leverage right now. Currently, is if Reddick were to miss more than 10 games this season, the Jets still have his rights for next year. So Jets have all the leverage. Reddick's really only hurting himself as the days go by.
It's true. I mean, that's the thing. As of right now, we do have all the leverage, but all it takes is one bad injury. I'm not calling for it. I'm not doing that, but that's all it takes. And then at that point, Joe Douglas is not going to look too good. And I don't think he's looking too good right now. I know there's a lot of fandom, as I had said before, this delusion kind of mentality that this guy made a deal with Joe Douglas saying that he's going to be here. He was a holdout. This is let's put things in perspective. The Jets, only the Jets, who I love the most, as you guys can tell, only the Jets trade for a freaking holdout. What do you expect? Like, what did any Jet fan fully expect him to play this season? The guy was begging the Eagles for a new contract. There's no other way to put it. If I'm Reddick, right? Like, each one of us, let's put ourselves in his shoes right now, in Reddick's shoes. If I'm looking for a new contract and my employer is saying, I'm not going to give you one, but if you want, I can trade you to some other team, and maybe they might give you the extension. Me, I would say, all right, let's do it. Here come the same old Jets, because not for nothing, it's always the same old Jets until proven wrong, until proven otherwise. Geno Smith gets his jaw broken by his own teammate. Sam Darnold gets mono. And now this guy, right? This guy comes here expecting, okay, I'm in a new place. I'm going to get a new deal. Joe Douglas is like, Stugotz, no, I'm not going to give you anything. You have to play your role. And now, Reddick, I have to play devil's advocate and say, all right, so I guess the venues have changed, but the mentality is still the same. I'm not going to play until I have a new contract.
Yeah.
So who has the leverage here? The Jets or him? Time will tell, and time will tell very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles, we're gonna get into the Reddick debate as the show goes on, but Charles, we really appreciate the call. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Thomas Morstead looked pretty good. He made a couple of nice punts. Glad he keeps himself in great shape too. As I said, I'm not worried about Zerline. Some people think he's washed. I think people are idiots. Martinez looked good. I like the way he throws the football. I like the way he runs. I mean, that 20-plus yard gain he made was incredible.
Yep.
That was a thing of beauty, man. I was like, please don't fumble the football. Lord have mercy, do not fumble the football.
Salud.
Thank you.
Yes.
I could tell you're Italian, Dan.
Of course, man, I'm Italian. Look at this. Oh, yeah.
I'm Italian, too.
See,
So is
but
my mother.
If the green fades, I'm the other half. I'm Irish.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. But if you put it like that, no, right.
But
Connor's a good one. He's a good one. Connor got me on that one. He's a good one.
I thought our pass rush was great. I know we weren't going against the Giant stars, but our pass rush was phenomenal. Our run defense was inconsistent, but they made some nice plays here and there. Our secondary, I thought, made some nice plays. But all in all, it was a decent game. I know the second half was boring on offense. I know we were just like, is it over yet? Is it over yet? Is it over yet? Like it was just that bad offensively in the second half. But all in all, hopefully we haven't sustained any too severe injuries. Thank the Lord, knock on wood. That's all I have for now. It was great beating you, Connor. Dan, it was a pleasure talking with you again, my friend. God bless and stay healthy.
Likewise.
Appreciate the call, Charles. Really appreciate it. We have another call on the line. Before we get to him, I wanted to touch on the Reddick debate, really, as you spoke about, and why the Jets would come in and inherit a problem. Reddick grew up in New Jersey. He rooted for the Eagles growing up. He was a diehard Eagles fan growing up. That was the team he rooted for. He attended Temple University in Philly. Like I said, was a diehard Philly fan growing up. Won early on in his career. Now he's like, all right, I've been severely underpaid these past 2 years. I want to get traded. I'm going to request a trade out of the team I grew up rooting for. He requests a trade out of their organization. The Jets come, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story. And then he requests a trade out of the Jets organization for the second time in 6 months.
Right.
It's like, what does he expect? The money he's currently demanding he's asking $25 to $28 million a year. If he were to get paid AAV, average annual salary of $25 million a year, that would tie him. So that's kind of the bottom as which he would like to get paid. That would tie him for the 5th highest paid edge rusher in the league, right with Myles Garrett. He had the same AAV as Myles Garrett. Post is the highest paid with $34 million a year. And then right after him, it's Josh Hines-Allen with $28.4 million a year.
Right.
So it's like, yes, he's very productive, but it's like, at the same time, do we really want to pay an aging Hassan Reddick who's approaching 30 years old a lucrative extension like that, a multi-year deal like that? I'm all for sweetening his deal, guaranteeing some of his money, but like you said, the Jets have made it clear they're not paying Reddick till he shows up. Reddick has made it clear he's not showing up till the Jets pay him, so that's just making for like a gridlock stalemate kind of situation when you really think about it. It's like I said, it's gone so long. Even if he were to report tomorrow, it's like, is he even going to play week 1? I think the goal is really to get him in prime shape for the home opener. I think that is the goal for Reddick right now, is get him ready for the home opener. I think that is a realistic target for the Jets and Reddick. But Dan, we have another caller on the line. Well, do you have time for one more caller before we wrap?
I got time all night.
Let's do it. We got Joe Cat joining the show. Joe, how you doing?
I know that guy on the. I know that guy with the armband. How are you,
They-
Connor? You're
I'm
doing a
doing-
great job, Connor. Way
Thank
better
you, I
than
appreciate it.
better than me and Dan ever used to do.
100%. 100%.
What's
dude.
happening, boys?
Not much, just enjoying, the annual Snoopy Bowl, loving it, and 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks away from Monday Night Football. Just looking up to, the season approaching, and hopefully entering it with a, clear mind. Hopefully, this Reddick thing's resolved before we kick
Well,
off.
they got to pay him. This is the problem is you already made your bed and you got to lie in it. Will McDonald sucks. I don't care what anybody else says. This guy is not a 15th overall pick. He's got one move, and he's getting tossed around. What was it? Last game, he got tossed around like a rag doll from a third stringer.
Yeah, he had a sack, but then he also got,
Yeah,
annihilated.
Right, and also the preseason, I can't really put any stock in the preseason. Like everyone's going nuts about this Lawrence Taylor guy or whatever. He's playing against future Walmart workers. You know what I mean? Like these guys will be working at Walmart on Monday. So I'm not really putting a lot of stock into it. And listen, I'm hyped. I always get hyped for the beginning of the season. But every time I look at that coach, I just know that guy can't do it.
He can't.
Do
I'm
it.
sorry, he can't.
Can't do
Connor,
it. I don't care. I don't care who you signed on this team. I don't care if you put Aaron Rodgers in a time machine back to 20-year-old Aaron Rodgers. That coach can't coach. I'm sorry. And the Hackett offense, thank God Aaron Rodgers is here. Because that Hackett offense, it can't even score 15 points against bums.
Right.
Like it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about Hackett than I am Saleh, if I'm being completely honest. The things that drive me crazy, we saw one or two today, is like the third and 15 or whatever. We saw it every play last year. It's like third and 15. I mean, come on, it's the preseason. I want to see Adrian Martinez just heave a 30-yard ball down the field. I don't care if it gets picked off. It's the preseason.
Right,
This is what I want to see. I mean, we're talking about 3rd and 18, and Adrian Martinez is doing a Zach Wilson sidearm throw to Xavier Valade 2 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Right.
It's like, come on, we want to see thrilling action, and we saw Hackett do this last year for the entirety of the regular season. It's like, that's why I'm happy. That's why we gotta hope Rodgers is healthy, because I think it's gotten to the point where it's like Hackett's gonna call the plays. It's to the point where it's like Rodgers is going to call. I think Rodgers is really going to change the plays at the offensive line.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, are the plays competent enough that Rodgers could change them at the offensive line and they're still going to work? I think that's what the main thing is. I mean, I think the first step of this coaching staff is I'd get rid of Hackett a year before I'd get rid of Saleh. And it's so the day Aaron Rodgers leaves this New York Jets organization, Nathaniel Hackett is fired 2 minutes later. That is exactly what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree. I think we're all on the same page that if they don't win or do anything this year, the problem is we're in a bad spot right now, because if the Jets lose and say they have a terrible season, which is always on the table, they have a terrible season, they blow it all up, now you're starting from scratch again. They have a great season, now the coach, the GM, everybody that you want out of the building is getting extended. So,
yeah, but if they have a good year, do we really want them out of the building? Because it's like you just got to replicate. I think a lot of it, again, depends on Rodgers' health. The captains of, I think the coaching staff is really just, it's a title. Because, I look at this team and there's so many veteran leaders. For example, on the defensive side of the ball, you have C.J. Mosley, even Tack McKinley, a former first-round pick, who's stepping in. He's been in the league. He got drafted in 2016. He seems to have a chip on his shoulder. Chuck Clark, safety, is going to be one of the Jets' starting safeties. He seems to have a chip on his shoulder. And then, obviously, the offensive side of the ball, I don't really need to do much talking. I mean, you have Tyron Smith and Aaron Rodgers. I think a lot of this team is driven by veteran leadership rather the actual coaching staff. So, in terms of Joe Douglas, I know you mentioned him there. I mean, he's done everything he could to maintain his job and put this Jets team in position to win a Super Bowl.
I know, but he's also had 6 years to build an offensive line, which he hasn't. The offensive line guru hasn't done anything. Frankly, 3/5 of the line are an injury away from being the same line as last year. Tyron Smith hasn't played a full season in 15 years or whatever the hell it is. John Simpson, he's 26 years old in the prime of his playing career, and the Ravens got rid of him. So that should tell you how much they think of him. Joe Tippmann can't even snap a ball. I don't even think he's a competent center. And who else we got to the right?
ABT.
ABT.
Another guy.
Yeah, who's the other guy?
Another guy on a stretcher.
ABT is an injury away from being an injury-prone player.
He doesn't have a Lamborghini. He has a stretcher.
Right.
Yeah,
ABT's barely living every year, and Morgan Moses has no pec left. So and then you move on to the receivers. Mike Williams is hurt.
Another guy.
Alan Lazard is only Alan Lazard because Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I've said. Yep.
It's the same. It's Garrett Wilson, Brees
And
Hall.
Garrett Wilson.
Right. It's Garrett Wilson,
That's it.
Brees Hall, a bunch of old guys,
Right.
and a bunch of hurt guys. That's the offense.
That's it.
And the whole Jets offense right now is living on a hope and a prayer that these guys can stay healthy. That's it.
Well,
It's
yeah.
just a hope and a prayer. There's no plan. There's no nothing. It's just, can these 40-year-old or 37-year-old dudes somehow stay healthy? Which,
It's gonna be
it's
tough,
a lot
man.
to put on. It's a lot to put on a 41-year-old man's. We have a 34-year-old quarterback backing up a 40-year-old quarterback.
Right.
We also have a backup quarterback that has never stayed healthy, ever. And even when he got the starting job with the Chargers, he got his lung punctured with a needle. Like, this guy's the epitome of bad luck.
Right.
So
It's so bad.
I'm not
man.
worried about
Like,
the defensive side. Like, look, I'm at the point where I was last year with Dan. If you brought everybody back, whatever it is, if the Jets have a clunker of a season, dude, just get rid of everybody. Tell Aaron Rodgers thank you, appreciate it, good try, awesome. I'm trading Sauce Gardner for 3 1s or Garrett Wilson, because I can't justify paying a $30 million a year cornerback when you don't have a quarterback. And until this team hires a competent coach, like a real coach, and somebody in the building that can develop a quarterback correctly, that's the NFL you need now. You need a coach and a quarterback.
Because
Yeah.
well, Connor, not for nothing, right? I saw your reaction on that, and I think 90% of the Jet fans are going to have that same reaction, right? Trading Sauce, but
They will.
But with that being said, everything's on the table. God forbid something like this season replicates what last season was, because you cannot have a replication of this. Last year, Saleh did not deserve to come back. He did not. Hackett, another guy, not at all to come back to the New York Jets. But because Aaron Rodgers is here, they gave them a mulligan, because not for nothing, Joe Douglas also on the hot seat, because not a lot of GMs draft a bust at 2nd overall and keep their jobs. Now, with that being said, we're still here. This is clean slate. It all depends. Everything is contingent on Aaron Rodgers. This can go from a disaster to a Super Bowl possibility. Everybody's healthy. We're hoping that 98 could repeat itself, 2009, 2010, with the only exception that we win the Lombardi in February. We hope so.
You're right.
We hope. We should be amped. We
I'm
should
with
be
you.
amped.
I'm amped. I didn't mean to go that far in the future. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if this thing falls off the wheels and the wheels fall off this thing, there's no justification for me to pay a $30 million a year cornerback when you don't have a quarterback.
Well, yeah, I'll say this about the offensive line, though. Yes, they've had injuries, but not every team in the NFL has the luxury of having a first-round pick as their 6-man / swing tackle. Like, that is a huge thing. That the tackle positions are where the Jets have faced the most injury problems. So it's like the fact that I think it's so important that a guy like Olu Fashion is the next man up for either injury. Rather, you have a Max Mitchell or Carter Warren stepping in for snaps. Like, that's even a worst case scenario. But Joe, we really appreciate the call. We're gonna wrap up here shortly. You got any final thoughts?
No, go Jets. Also don't get too hyped for the preseason. Again, really, Yeah, Lawrence Taylor looked great against a bunch of future garbage men. It's
Lawrence Taylor
awesome.
the third.
Oh
Lawrence
yeah,
Taylor the third.
LT3.
Leonard Taylor the third.
LT3. Jets Twitter's calling him LT3. And Greg Zerline apparently can't kick no more. So I don't know. Yeah, what happened to the other guy they had kicking?
Who? Tony
Cybert?
Miola?
Yeah, keep that guy. This guy, what did he miss? 2 field goals tonight?
Yeah.
An extra point in the field goal.
An
Yeah, that's
extra
good.
point, man. It
Yeah.
says
Yeah, it's good.
it never ends.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Never ends.
All right, boys, you're doing a great job. Connor, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I
Dan,
appreciate it.
Love
you
you,
look
man.
great. You look
Thanks,
great.
man. It's for the blood circulation.
Yes, that's where you're going to take it off after.
Exactly.
Very good.
Love
right,
you, brother.
boys.
Appreciate
Later.
the call.
Later, man.
Joe, really appreciate it. And we're approaching the 1 hour mark. We're currently a little over 56 minutes. It looks like we are gonna wrap here, but I definitely understand where Joe's coming from, and you just gotta hope for the best with this. I think what makes this team like special though is yes, you have the veteran leadership. I think you went a little too extreme with the older players there, but you also have the young playmakers in Garrett, Brees, Sauce, Jermaine.
Right.
Quinnen, Quincy, all these guys. So, I think that makes for a very talented roster. But Dan, I really appreciate you joining me. And a signature question I've started with everyone I've had on the show
Yes,
is
sir.
I always ask them 4 dinner guests, anyone in the world, dead or alive, who are you taking out to dinner?
4 dinner guests.
Yep.
Sports fans or anyone?
Anyone in the world, dead or alive.
My dad. No one else. My pops.
That's it.
That's it. My dad. 100%.
Absolutely.
Dude, love your dad, man. All the guys like listening right now. Dads are special figures. They have their ups, they have their downs. Maybe we may not understand them from a vantage point when we're younger, but as we grow older, the truth starts to unravel, and you start living and seeing through their eyes. Man, if I could only have that chance once more to have dinner with my pops, I give anything.
I love it. I love it.
Great question, man. Great
Thank
question.
you. Dan, like I said, I appreciate you joining me. Now it's time for your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Yes, we're 3-0 in the preseason. Like Joe
4-0 in
alluded.
2024.
Oh, 4-0. I get it. But again, in 92, we were 5-0. And I was, I don't know, 13, probably. Yeah, like your age. And 5-0, we had a quarterback who I always bring up. I must be like a Browning Nagel super fan. And I thought it was like that the best. We're going to win the Super Bowl, whatnot. I think we have to take everything with a grain of salt heading into the 2024 season. But I understand it. I get it. We should be excited. Every health first, obviously, it's not just an insurance for old people. It's one of those where we have to know, all right, you know what? If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I'm expecting Super Bowl. The least, I'm expecting AFC championship game, whether it's here or if it's in Kansas City. And at that point, Rodgers is well seasoned. We can all know, you know what? He went through the grueling season of 17 games, or at that point, probably 19 games. Or hopefully we win the East. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the Jets winning the East. My expectations are really high for the season. I'm looking at Garrett Wilson, like I said before, 1,800 yards. Brees Hall, having Aaron Rodgers there, opens up the run game, 1,200 yards. I'm looking at the defense. The defense finally has a quarterback that is capable of maintaining a lead and stretching out that lead. This defense has not had that. Maybe since the Mike White days. And that's it. That's very telling. Everything is coming together. The whole entire thing. Time will tell if it's the same old Jets. A lot of us older guys, we're looking for, things to just kind of cave in. I don't want to go that route. I'm looking at this. I cannot wait until we play against the Niners. I don't want a game that's like, nail biter and we lose. If it's a nail biter, win the game. I'm done with just getting there. I want to go over that hump. Then after that, we got teams that we can go 4-0, 5-0. Start the season 6-0 if we beat the Niners. My prediction, 14-3. You win the East, and we're going to New Orleans.
Absolutely love it. I absolutely love the optimism. I'm kind of in that 11-6, 12-5 range personally when I look at the schedule. And we all hope for the Super Bowl, but Dan, like I said, really appreciate you joining me. Everyone, Thank you guys for watching, and as always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.